Hello, this is part two of this drawing, this painting, Mountain Ruins is what I've been calling it so far. These this castle-like thing got turned into ruins, so I thought yeah, that's pretty good. Last time I just made all this stuff randomly, came up with it as I was going along pretty much, and the idea is just to make a pretty cool scene with digital painting. So what I'm going to do is this, where as you see it now, is I have some footage of how I got from where I left off last time to here. I'm just going to time lapse that, so you'll see like going back to a previous state and how I got it up to this detailed state with the look of the ruins and a lot of these the mountainous kind of look there. And I'll time lapse that real quick. And once that's done, then I'll just go back to real time and start drawing in a lot more detail around here. And maybe finish this one today. I'm just going to put about another hour to it. So first watch this time lapse. It'll probably take about a minute, and I hope you enjoy it. Be right back. Okay, and so now back to where we left off. This is this is state of things right here. Basically, what we have is we got a background area back there, which includes the mountains and the sky. That's actually two layers. A midground right here, which includes this the whole castle scene, and then there's a foreground. Actually, the dragon is on his own, which is probably a good thing for now because I'm not sure exactly where he belongs. I mean, he's in the right spot, but I'm not sure about his color values and stuff like that. So I got him on his own layer, and then we have this super foreground. The super foreground, as I'm calling it, just the major foreground. I don't know what the exact terminology is for that, but the primary foreground, the one closest up here. This one is the least worked upon, so I'm gonna work on it like that. There's many reasons. I'm not sure why. Like I always skip around, and I noticed a lot of other people do this too. Um, Let me see while I'm talking. Let me get this, get some values in here. I get something like dark brown, not too dark, a little metallic-ish. Okay. And yeah, one of the reasons that I think about it sometimes is like, why do we draw like this? We skip around from the background, the foreground, this and that. I think part of the reason is that you don't really ever want the drawing to look like it was only one part of it was done at any point in time, because those of us who have experience drawing and being in reality, people are always coming and going looking at it, even though you could want to keep it a secret, but eventually there's going to be someone looking the halfway process, and it just gets to your conscious, I think, that you want to hop around and have everything like at a, let's say for example, if the castle was 100% done and everything else was like, not even started, that'd feel kind of weird. Also, it's not only that, but also the fact that how can I know that how can I work on the castle and have it 100% done not knowing what the surrounding area is going to look like, right? What if I just focused 100% on the dragon and I said, oh, that looks cool, and then when I started working on other parts of it, I'd say, oh, wait a minute, if that color's there, it won't work with the dragon the way I finished it, and you have to redo everything. So it's actually good practically, not just psychologically, but practically to skip around, I think, a lot and get different things done. What I'm doing here for this foreground here is this part is supposed to be kind of like a cliff. There's actually like two cliffs, I guess. There's a cliff on the left and a cliff on the right, and we're looking in between them, going down into like a valley, right? And the valley is going to be where there's the little mountain there that has the castle on it, the castle ruins. So these cliffs here need some color. The reason I did them in black is because well, there are going to be black parts on it. This foreground here is going to be the closest part to us, and for that reason it's going to have the strongest values. It's going to have some of the lightest lights and the darkest darks. Also, the color should be more vibrant, so that's why I chose this particular color for brown. To start with, it's kind of a base brown, as you can see over here in the palette. It's not all the way in the dark, it's not all the way in the light, it's kind of in the middle. And just regular space, not space was the word I was looking for, a base color, foundation color to work with rather. And there's going to be some randomization in the color. It's when I say this, I mean, keep in mind I'm not like the world's pro or anything at any kind of art form. It's something I do and do well. I've done it for many years. I've done it since I was a kid. And I do commission projects and stuff like that, or I have them commissioned, however you put that. And the thing is, I have my own idea on how things work. I'm not sure if I'm 100% right all the time, but I have my own way of getting things done, and it works for me. And I know that my eye is happy with it. And when I put it out in the public, even on harsh places where you have your upvotes and downvotes and your critics and stuff, it usually doesn't fare that poorly. So I'm pretty happy with that. With that in mind, I have this one random way of playing with color that nothing that you see in life is going to be 100% one color. Usually you have other colors bouncing off of it, and even if you were to say my shirt is gray or something, there's no perfectly gray shirt. It's going to have, if you look up close, there's going to be like fibers and stuff that have various colors to it. Not to mention even like stains and stuff. Nothing in life is perfect, right? So you gotta mix it up a little bit sometimes. If you look at a cliff and you say the cliff, it has that kind of brown rock. What color are rocks usually? You have gray rocks, you have brown rocks, you have beige rocks. I decided to go with brown here because it's fitting the theme, but it doesn't have to be all brown either. Let's say, for example, right here, I'm going to get some gray and put that a line of gray in here, because remember, we also have to keep in mind the what do you say, like the physics, the actual nature of things, and that area there, right? It's like this. The nature of things. Excuse me, I'm trying to say like two things at once. It would be the nature of things that have it in rocks. If you look at like layers of rocks, and you go down and you have the bedrock and different layers of rock, and it goes through history, right? If you read about like the dinosaurs and archaeology and stuff like that, there's like layers and layers of rock. So when you have a cliff like this, where you can see it's like a C-section, a cut section from the side of of all of this, these different layers of rocks, you should be able to see some differences here and there. Maybe in some cases it all looks pretty much the same, but there should be a little bit, a little bit, unless it was like some freshly man-made mound of dirt. There should be some kind of like history inside these rocks, and you can play with the colors in that. There's different shades of rock. If I really wanted to go to town on this, I would probably go into like, read some scientific manual, and like maybe there's particular colors that should be seen on the higher levels, and the lower levels should be different. I don't know about all that stuff, but I do know that these cliffs should share the same history. So if I do a gray line over here of rock, then over here should be a gray line as well, and the same thing over here. I added red on the bottom part, so I'm going to go red over here as well. And you can see they have kind of a slant, a tilt to them. This one's going off to the right a little, and that one off to the left. That might mean something, right, with the way that rocks work and stuff. So that was all on a lower opacity, so as not to like completely change the color, but just to blend it in a little bit. In addition, previously you saw I mixed some random green around. That should be representing the green color coming off of, reflecting off of like grass and different stuff like that. And then there's the crazy part here where I'm going to go and just pick some blue, and again at a very low opacity. I'm not gonna say why. There's no reason. I'm just going to do this, and you know why? Because that's what happens. That's why. There's some reason for it. It's something that I do. It's a little thing that I do. I mix some random colors in there because, like I said, nothing's perfect. If you zoom in close, you're going to find all different types of colors. Now I have those colors in there, just some random different colors. I can go in and select that color as it blended with the other one. Because right here we have like purple splotches, which are not really necessary, but anyway, it blended in a little bit with the brown, and I'll use that to just mix it around. I don't want to leave any of these perfectly black spots right now. They will come in handy a bit later. Okay, and I'm going to select some other, I guess the important part right here is to keep your darks with your darks and your lights with your lights. This side over here, if I zoom in, all of this area around here should be a little darker because the light source is over here, right? So the light's coming from this way, shining over in this direction. So that means this area here should have some lighter lights. And in some areas like this, it'll bounce off the top, the edge of this here, and might be bouncing off around here. It could be little rocks if I zoom in and go like this. But yeah, I'll go into that detail later. For now, let me get where I was. For now, all I want to do is just make sure that I'm keeping the light areas with the lights and the dark with the darks, and we can mix it up a little bit later. I could do a higher opacity here. Keep in mind that I'm also using a pressure sensitive pad here. It's the Wacom tablet, so that how to say that, it means I don't have to hold on, that's too dark. That's a little dark. Alright, that's good. Yeah, I don't have to always keep the opacity down when I'm trying to mix things in. Sometimes I can just use a lighter pressure on the pen and the tablet, and that'll work out. Now I gotta get some of this gray. Remember, this area is supposed to be more of a gray stone, so it should mix in. I'm gonna do a top point and a low point here, mix in like that. And this rock might also be a different texture, a different how to say it might have different I didn't want to use the word values because that would be a little ambiguous at this point in time. It might have a different feeling to it. It might have a different strength. It's a different kind of rock. It's a different, era of rock. It could be softer or harder or something like that, and that means the light could reflect off of it in a different way. It also means that it might be more brittle or something like this, and so I could, play with that. I could do different types of tricks inside there to show that it has a different feeling to it. I may or may not worry about that this go round, but it's just an idea. Let me get some color here. Okay. So this is the and there's probably way faster, faster ways to get this done what I'm doing here, but this is this is how I'm doing it. I like to scribble around a lot, and because when you do that, notice you could watch someone else and they'll do this like maybe in 5 minutes instead of 10. They'll do a little faster, but notice what happens with all this scribbling that I do. I get all these little these little interesting spots, right? And I can play with those spots and make it like grooves and ridges and stuff like this. That's why I like to do that. I know it's a bit of a waste of time, but I don't know. When it comes to art, can you really say it's a waste of time? What's that? They have some expression like, you know, you can't rush art, something like that. I would have never, nobody can ever sit around and just say like, oh, let's make grooves going this way and then that way. I mean, you can't calculate it, right? So you just got to kind of randomize it. Just throw some spots around. And I need a bit darker thing to get in the edges here. That's color there, yeah. Darker one there. And now, also remember I'm selecting random colors as I move around, so some of those spots where I threw in those like greens and oranges and the purple even, that's going to get mixed in with all this stuff that I did right there, and it's going to give it that type of randomization, which makes it look a lot more natural. That's all for that. So I think, yeah, I might just keep the jibber jabber up to that with this. As you can see, I have a bit more work to do on probably both these sides before it starts to look realistic. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in time lapse, and I'll be right back. You can watch the time lapse, and I'll be back in, I guess it'll be about a minute or two. Okay, so this is where we're at now. I went in and I don't know if I included this in the video. Yeah, I think I did. I added a lot darker spots here and the highlights. So you see the important thing with this is that we have darker darks and the highlights are very light, and there's a lot of like you know spaces in between. There's a lot of like texture and stuff. You can feel you know, you can actually feel out the spaces and the grooves of all these different rocks and the ridges and stuff like that. Whereas when you get further into the background, in this area here, the castle, because it's far away, it's a lot more subtle. It's, you know, it should represent kind of that it's blurred, you know, further away, you can't see it as clearly. Also, because it's further in the distance, some of this is actually maybe a bit too sharp, and I might lighten it up a little. For example, this dark area here, it's almost as dark as this darkness here, which in a way would be kind of a mistake. But excuse me. But that's yeah, that's not too bad. There's a reason for that. Hold on a second, and I'll tell you why. Okay, sorry, I had to clear my throat and get a drink. What happens sometimes when you're focusing on something, let's say for example, even if this was far away here, if I was staring at this, your eyes have a tendency to balance out light. So if you're in a dark room, for example, and you stare at something long enough, you can start to make out the details in it because your eyes just do that job. They help you to focus, they help to bring out light and stuff like that. And so in this particular case, it might be okay to leave that kind of dark how it is. If this is a focal point, which it is, I might decide to leave some of that dark. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I can experiment with it. We can play with it. But I just want to make that point that you don't always have to religiously make further things look so much lacking in value and stuff like that. And also just for the sake of art, I might choose to keep strong values in here so I can show a lot of details and stuff like that. There's different ways to look at that, different ways to go about it. So yeah. Let's keep going. I'm going to go with the, I'm pretty much happy with how this, the last thing I wanted to do with these rocks, let me make sure I'm on the right layer, with these cliffs here, is also remember that there's going to be some reflective light. So the light's coming from up here and is going, back this way generally. It's coming towards us too. So because of that, some light is going to go behind us and then bounce back. And I mean, pretty much you can always assume there's going to be reflective light just about everywhere. And what color should the reflective light be? Well, let's just assume behind us is something such as green fields or something, and so we can do something like green, or you could do blue for the sky, right? Like whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to put on very low opacity and just kind of blend it in there a little. I want it to be light bouncing around from the other side. In some areas it'll be big splotches like that, and then little details like this. So there will be some light in the shadow, but only in parts where we think it should be bouncing back from behind us. And it could be other random colors. It could be like the sky color. That would be useful. Also, some people would say to use complementary colors, which is not a bad idea. So what would that be? On this thing, the complementary color is the opposite side of the wheel. So if this is brown, then it would be blue. And we would use some kind of blue like this. So I put a little blue in there. Little spots around here and there. Maybe the blue is coming from the sky. I don't know. Just put little random spots around there. Sometimes just the fact that it's random is good enough. And it's a little bit lighter than the dark area. So it really gives you the feeling that there's some light bouncing around in there, and you're not sure exactly where it's coming from, but it's there. That didn't come out as good as I wanted it to, but anyway. Let's do something like this. What if I just went like that? Splash it in here. Yeah, something like that. Over here I think it turned out okay. Something along those lines is all I'm trying to say. You could even do something like this, just splotch in one of those like that. It gives you, it just gives it a little something. And I'm going to leave that like that for now. Later on I might, yeah, can you see how it's almost like there's little sparks of light bouncing back at you because I'm using this big soft brush, and it just kind of like makes almost like a flare kind of effect. So that's how that is. I'll leave it like that. Then we'll go right into the dragon. I'll play with that some more later. Or I may or may not sure. What color is the dragon going to be? I already know inside here in his wings I want to get why am I not drawing? Yeah. Okay. I want to show some kind of red glow coming through the sun. It could be any color. I mean, going with the theme here, everything else is kind of brownish, but that doesn't mean that everything has to be brown. I could go with blue. Look at the color wheel here. He could even have multiple colors, he or she. Maybe it's a girl dragon. Let me try with one of these dark blues. We can always change it later, because it might be an interesting contrast to everything else that's going on here. At the end of the day, I'm going to keep a lot of this black too, by the way. So I want him to look like, I'm going to say it's a him for now. So I don't know why. But I want it to kind of feel like there's this strong contrast between the dragon and what was that? Am I in erase mode? Okay. I want it to feel like there's a strong contrast between the dragon and the sky, as it was, when it was black. I want to maintain a lot of that kind of feeling, that like he's just there blocking out the sun, and he's making this just grotesquely large presence on the scene. I want that feeling to come out because if you look at the size of the castle here, let me zoom in a minute. This part here is the door to the castle. It's like one of those big, trapdoor areas. And so people would be like this big right here, or even smaller, right? You could have people like this big. This would be like that's bigger than a person. So with people being that big, that means look up at where he is here. A person would be like just a tiny little dot on his body. So you could have like, basically you could say this dragon is many, many stories high, 100 stories or more high. So with this basic lighting, I already had an idea that I want to have the light shimmering around him. It'll give him sort of a halo effect. So, sorry I just locked up there a minute. I don't know if that'll affect the video. It'll give him a halo effect where the light is just radiating around him. It's coming around him, which in fact is true because he's in front of it and it should be coming from the other sides. I'm not sure if this purple is going to work, which, yeah, I hate to waste video time and stuff, but if I have to change the color. So I wanted him to have, yeah, I'm not liking, I think I might just have to go ahead with the red and stick with that theme of the redness. Although leave the blue in there, like I was saying before, you never know, it might turn out being useful somehow. And yeah, I'm already feeling better with the red. Let me see, I have to be a little bit quiet while I'm doing this, focusing on getting these lines right. Well, see if I come back. Yeah, it's a lot better. The thing I was worried with the red is whether or not it'll blend in too much with the other colors around here, with like the browns and stuff. I really have to like spin my tablet. Get this in here. Let me see. I don't have the greatest setup here. I have like this little desk and stuff. I'm trying to improve upon this stuff slowly, and sometimes I run off the edge of the tablet. It's so much better with like actual paper, but the benefits that you get out of using a tablet are also uncomparable. How do you say that? Just the fact that I can erase and redo all the time makes it way better. It feels like cheating, honestly. I just sometimes I want to go back to the paper and like feel kind of bad. This is a unique kind of thing I decided to do with the tail, not just your traditional cliche dragon tail, something, like a tassel kind of thing happening there. Maybe it'll end up being kind of a rainbow colored dragon. This is the same thing as I was going through with the rocks just a moment ago, is how I just want to start off with a base color, and then we're going to come back and add some depth and texture to it. In this case, we might want to do a lot of little ridges to represent scales and stuff, which even from this distance should be quite visible, I think. And different color. In this case, you really have to use a different color to fill in the areas here, or else if you use the same color, then you would just lose all of the space in there. Okay, so I'm just going to go in the time lapse with this, and you can watch that, and I'll be right back. Okay, that took a lot longer than I planned. I split it up into two time-lapse videos, and I might only show the latter of the two because I basically ended up just completely changing my color scheme. So I went from blue. I think in the last video. What is this? Okay, yeah. In the last video, I already made that color change decision, but what happened on when I was doing the sketches, I really had to get in here. Like I'm having a hard time with the tablet getting in here where I want to, and hitting these angles and curves. I know this is how I want it to be. I can feel where I want the curves to be, but it's hard to with this tablet. It was a piece of paper, I could just spin it around, that wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, in this situation, it's a little tough to get my hand to go exactly where I want it to. So right now I'm just going to add some highlights. Make a long story short, I just changed the color scheme a lot. And I'm getting a weird kind of groove coming out of this brush right now. That happens sometimes. Can you see that? It's making like pixelated kind of look to it. Huh, that's weird. I might be zoomed in further than I realized. Yeah, that's actually kind of normal. This is only, I don't know, it's about 4,000 pixels wide. Right here, to have some little highlights coming off. And actually, while we're at it, let's just go ahead and make some of these grooves so it'll show for his scales. Things like that. Whoops. Trying to keep the colors about the same. Something like that. It won't even be noticeable by the time you come out, I guess. But yeah, I just want to have some really stark, bright highlights around the edges here so that he comes out. I think it needs to be a little whiter. Yeah. So he pops out a little bit. And he's going to have a little bit of that halo effect to him. So you can see all around the edges. Okay, so what I'm going to do to finish this for today, I just looked at the video. I think we have about already 20 or somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, and I don't want it to go on for too long. The dragon is okay. He's in, let's say, I went through 3 or 4 phases with the mountain. I went through 1 or 2 phases with the foreground here. I would say the dragon is on phase 2, and it needs another, another layer, another wave through. And this guy over here, if I can't even get, let me see him on, yeah, over here. We have this. This is supposed to be a guy. I don't know if I even noted that. If you'd have to go back to the first video, but this is supposed to be a character standing here, and he's not done at all. Everything else has been, it has 1 or 2 phases over it, and this guy is just standing there, this black splotch of a thing. So oh wait, I shouldn't have done that because I'm on the wrong layer. Let me see if I can get rid of that. I have to undo until we get here. Well, let me just hide this layer. Yeah, that should be about right. He's up here. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go onto this foreground layer here and do this guy. Am I in erase mode? Yeah. On the foreground, I'm going to touch this guy up until it looks, at least like he's some kind of guy. And then, yeah, I might do a little bit more detail on the dragon, then I'm done for this video. And there will be one more, I guess, in light of where I am here. There's going to be at least one more. It'll be a finishing touch-up where I got to do all little details on the on this part here. Well, basically everywhere needs a little bit of touch-up. And then, the best part is going to be at the end of the last video where I really, push this stuff back, bring the foreground forward and that back, and do some dynamic lighting to make it look like an intense scene, or maybe intense isn't the right word, but just give it that feeling that it needs. And yeah, that's that. So here's one more time lapse with me working on this guy here, and then I'll see you right after that. Okay, so that's that in about a nutshell. That guy right there. As you can see, when you zoom back, he's really small anyway, as he's supposed to be. He's there. Sometimes you have characters like that. It's actually just for scale, so you can see how big everything is. That'll help you to, if you see a person over there, it helps you to realize how big everything is. Um, but yeah, I do like having a character there too. It just adds something. It almost it's getting a little. I'm always trying to do something new, like I was saying in the beginning, the first video. I didn't want to be too cliche or anything, but this is it's actually very traditional. It ended up being like the knight, and there's the dragon, and some old castle ruins and stuff. Maybe there's going to be a fight, or maybe they're friends. Who knows? I don't know. You can see there's some relation between them because the way that his whatever that is on his head there, maybe that's from having chopped off the tail of a previous dragon. So I guess we'll assume they're foes at this point, and he's on a mission. Uh, doesn't mean the dragon is a bad dragon per se. Maybe it's a bad guy. So, yeah. But that's just the scene in a nutshell there. I feel as though everything is where it belongs. We have one or two layers of paint and detail on everything. So even at this point, I could say it's like half finished, kind of painting. Put like 2 or 2.5 hours into it so far, it seems, with the video. Although I've been talking a lot. So what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to stop this here and go to the next video. The last one will basically be finalizing everything with the detail, and some things like the grass here still needs to be done. Bring more depth and space into the middle area here, and a lot more detail on the dragon, and then we'll finish off by doing the sky and the mountains in the background with a bit more not detail, but they need more just feeling with color. They don't really have an even flow, and then we'll polish the whole thing off with overall like lighting and stuff. So that's what we have to look forward into the next video. For now on this one here, if you made it this far, thank you very much, and please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.